Here we're going to look at a pretty interesting recursively defined sequence, which I think of as kind of a multiplicative version of the Fibonacci sequence. So let's recall the Fibonacci sequence is defined by the first two terms are 1, and then the next term is the sum of the previous two terms. So it goes something like 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and so on and so forth. But here we're going to look at a multiplicative version of that, like I said before. So we want to suppose that x1 and x0 are between 0 and 1, where x1 is less than x0. And then furthermore, we're going to take xn plus 1 to be equal to xn times xn minus 1. So if we had a plus between those, that would be exactly the Fibonacci recursion. But here we're going to have multiplication. That's going to be for all n bigger than or equal to 1. So notice if we used the standard two seeds for the Fibonacci sequence, so either 1, 1 or sometimes 0, 1, this sequence would not be very interesting because it would either be the constant sequence 1, as 1 times 1 is 1, or it would be the constant sequence 0, as 0 times 1 equals 0, and then 0 times 0 equals 0 everywhere after that. And I should say maybe it would be the constant sequence 0 except for the second term, if you're taking, for instance, x0 equal to 0 and x1 equal to 1. But here we've got both of these numbers are in the open interval 0 to 1. Okay, so we've got a couple of goals here. First is to find the limit as n goes to infinity of x sub n. And the next one is to find the limit as n goes to infinity of x sub n plus 1 over x sub n to the phi, where that phi is the golden ratio. And we're going to use the monotone sequence theorem as a tool, which is pretty standard for these kind of recursively defined sequences. Okay, so let's maybe get to this first goal first, which is finding the limit of the sequence itself. So I want to point out that it shouldn't be too big of a leap to guess the value of this limit if the limit exists, which we will show that the limit exists. And that is perhaps the value of this should be 0. And that's because you're taking two numbers that are smaller than 1 but bigger than 0, you're multiplying them. So if you multiply two numbers from the open interval 0 to 1, well, that's going to give you a number that's smaller than either of them. And then you keep doing that, and that keeps creating numbers smaller and smaller and smaller. So it seems like this thing should be bounded by 0 below and above by 1 and then decreasing. And that's exactly what we'll show. Okay, so let's maybe verbalize that as a claim. And so my claim is that the limit as n approaches infinity of x sub n is equal to 0. So like I said, we're going to use the monotone sequence theorem, which means we need to prove that this thing is a monotone sequence and that it is bounded. So we'll first prove that it's bounded, and we'll do that by induction. And so by induction, we will prove that x sub n is between 0 and 1 for all natural numbers n. Okay, so let's notice first of all that our base case is already sorted because we have assumed from the beginning that x1 and x0 are between 0 and 1. So we're good to go there. Now let's make an induction hypothesis, and I want to point out here that I'm really making a strong induction hypothesis. And that's because I need some information about what's happening with the previous two terms, not just the previous term. So maybe I'll put here that this is going to be a strong induction hypothesis. So let's suppose for all 0 less than or equal to k less than or equal to m, we have x sub k is between 0 and 1. So I want to point out that with this setup, what we want to do is show that x sub m plus 1 is between 0 and 1. So remember, strong induction means we assume all cases up to a certain point instead of just that one case. Okay, Great. So now let's get to it. So notice we have x sub m plus 1 is equal to x sub m times x sub m minus 1 by the recursive definition of this sequence. But now notice that x sub m and x sub m minus 1 are both between 0 and 1 by our induction hypothesis. But if you take the product of two numbers between 0 and 1, then you get a new number that's between 0 and 1. So x sub m plus 1 is in fact between 0 and 1. So that means we have proven that this thing is bounded. Okay, now let's go ahead and show that this is monotone. And since we've made our claim that this limit is 0 and it's bounded below by 0, well, really we want this thing to be monotonically decreasing. And so that's exactly what we'll show. So decreasing. And now we can do this just with straightforward calculation built off of the fact that we have this bound for all of our values from the sequence. So let's go ahead and notice that x sub n plus 1 is equal to x sub n times x sub n minus 1. We know that x sub n minus 1 is on the interval 0 to 1. So if we replace it with the number 1, we have created something that is bigger. So let's go ahead and replace x sub n minus 1 with 1 to create something bigger, and that's going to give us x sub n. And so now we've got x sub n plus 1 is less than x sub n, but that's exactly what we needed for this thing to be decreasing. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of this, and then we'll calculate the limit. Okay, so we just got done showing that this thing was bounded and decreasing. And so by the monotone sequence theorem, we know that it converges. Let's go ahead and call that limit L. So we'll say L is the limit as n goes to infinity of x sub n. But now what we can do is replace x sub n with x sub n plus 1, and we'll have the same limit. And that's because the sequence x sub n plus 1 is really a subsequence of the original sequence, but we know that subsequences of convergent sequences converge to the same value, so that also converges to L. Now we can apply our recursion. So we've got the limit as n approaches infinity of x sub n times x sub n minus 1. And then by some nice algebraic properties of limits, we know that this is going to be the limit as n goes to infinity of x sub n times the limit as n goes to infinity of x sub n minus 1. But now, again, these are subsequences of the original sequence, so they have the same limit. So each of these limit to L. So that means that limits to L squared. Okay, good. Now what we want to notice is that we've got this equation, L squared equals L, which has two obvious solutions, L equals 0 or L equals 1. But then, since we are bounded on the interval 0 to 1 and we are decreasing, then we can immediately throw away this L equals 1 possibility. Because of the behavior of our sequence, we are decreasing towards this value L equals 0, which is at the lower edge of our bounding region for this. So we're done calculating the limit of this sequence, which is 0. Now we're ready to move on to the second limit. And so I would say maybe before we really launch into it, we should maybe do some numerical calculations to get a guess for what the limit should be. So I'll let you guys do that on your own, but what we end up with is a guess that the limit of this should be 1. And I want to recall the defining properties of the golden ratio. We have phi squared equals phi plus 1. That can very easily be rewritten as phi times phi minus 1 equals 1. Okay, so now let's get to this. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll rename this quotient a new sequence so that we have a little bit of shorthand. So here I'll just set a sub n equal to x sub n plus 1 over x sub n to the phi. And then next I want to notice that the 0th term of this sequence is x sub 1 over x sub 0 to the phi. We don't exactly know where that lies, but we know that x sub 1 and x sub 0 are both positive. So that means if you put them together in this form, you'll get a positive number. So we know that a sub 0 is bigger than 0, and that's actually going to be pretty important. Okay, good. And now what I want to do is notice and now what I'll do is use some of the special properties of phi along with this recursion that defines the sequence x sub n in order to write a sub n in terms of earlier parts of the sequence. So let's go ahead and do that. So we've got a sub n, so that's equal to x sub n plus 1 over x sub n to the phi. Next, I want to take this x sub n plus 1 and write it as x sub n times x sub n minus 1. That's going to be over x sub n to the phi. Good. And now from here, what I can do is maybe do a little canceling. So that's going to be x sub n minus 1 over x sub n to the phi minus 1. And then next, I'll make the simple observation that we've got a hidden exponent of 1 here. And that hidden exponent of 1 can be written as phi times phi minus 1. And now that allows us to rewrite this as x sub n minus 1 to the phi over x sub n, and then all of that to the phi minus 1. But now what I want to notice is that this stuff inside the brackets almost looks like my sequence a sub n. In fact, this is 1 over a sub n minus 1. Notice it's re-indexed one step before, and we have the reciprocal there. Now we can maybe negate this exponent, this phi minus 1, in order to flip that around, and we have this nice recursion that a sub n is equal to a sub n minus 1 to the 1 minus phi. And now here's like a little thing for you guys to check on your own with induction. It's not super hard, but it's super helpful for finding this limit. Here we can repeat this process to show that a sub n is equal to a sub 0 to the 1 minus phi, all of that to the n power like that. Okay, good. Now we can go ahead and take the limit of a sub n using this formulation. So here we have, this is the limit as n goes to infinity of a sub 0 to the power of 1 minus phi to the n. And then next what I want to notice is since a sub 0 is positive and exponentiation is like a continuous operation, I can bring this limit inside. So this is going to be equal to a0 to the limit as n goes to infinity of 1 minus phi to the n. Now we've got to think about where 1 minus phi is. So maybe the most important thing to notice is that the absolute value of 1 minus phi is less than 1, which means 1 minus phi is between -1 and 1. But what that means is if we continually raise it to larger and larger powers, that thing is going to go towards 0. So in other words, this limit, which is in the exponent, is approaching 0. And so in the end here, we get a sub 0 to the 0. But then since a sub 0 is a positive number, any positive number to the 0th power is going to be equal to 1. Okay, so that means we've established this second limit. Now let's look at a little problem inspired by this. So my question is, what is so special about phi? In other words, why, if we put phi and the exponent in the denominator down here, do we get this nice limit of 1? What would we get if we had x sub n plus 1 over x sub n to the c for other real values of c? So maybe calculate a couple, see if you can come up with a conjecture, maybe prove it, post what you get in the comments. And so that's a good place to stop.